And then there's quite a bit of darkness. Let's layer it up. Let's layer that darkness up. So I have Vista first. Add a little layer of Vista down. It comes down and around into this little brow area here. And then there's that really nice warm pinky red that we've got here. Bring a bit more of that out. Then we've got like a warm walnutty colour. A few hairs. Let's sharpen that up. Oh, it's nothing quite like a nice sharp pencil, is there? Okay. Let's some these darker hairs in here as well. So taking the time to really observe. I hadn't noticed these dark little hairs there before, but now I've added them in, that it feels so much more righter. Try not to feel rushed. You know, you don't have to work at the same pace as me. I do tend to work pretty quickly, believe it or not. There are other artists that work much slower than I do. But you need to take the pace that you need to take, so don't feel rushed. Don't feel like you have to do things at the same pace. You can slow it down, pause the recording if you want to keep it going, come back to it, play it again, play it a couple of times as you're working through a particular section. Basically, you do you. Don't worry about anyone else and how they do or don't approach something. This is all about you and your connection to what you're creating. So I'm just going around and adding. Can you see the difference adding darks makes? It was one of the biggest learnings I ever had. So if I can impart nothing else, then that would be what I would like you to take home from any of these lessons, is that you need to have the dark colours in there in order for the light ones to stand out. Okay, I'm feeling much better about that now. That whole area. I'm actually going to take black again, but I want to sharpen that up a bit more. I just want to go over this eye a little. Hello, little one. Okay, a little bit of warm grey one just in here. Okay, I feel like that's finished. I like it. Hello. Right, now we've got some ivory down there. I'm going to come in with some warm grey one now. In this area that sort of comes down this way, between the eyes. I think we might do a little bit of embossing in there too. And now we're getting into sort of tricksy territory because we've got some dark, warm colours and warm browns coming quite quickly into some cool, I said browns, greys, cool greys. So I am doing some warm grey this way, and I'm going the way the hair goes. And then I'm going to grab a cool grey one, cold grey one. Come in all through here. I think I will. There's actually a couple of males. I can't remember if I've told you or not. A couple of males hanging around at the moment, and they're both looking very bedraggled. It's towards the end of their mating season now. One of them even sounded a little bit hoarse, which I'm not surprised because they go on and on and on. So I'm really looking at how the fur works, how the hairs move around. Now I have this line here. I have no idea what that line is. But the eye comes down here. Oh, I think it's... No idea what it is, so I'm going to get rid of it. Oh, I know what it was. It's a whisker. I don't know why I drew a whisker so hard, but I did. I was pretty enthusiastic about that whisker, apparently. Some nice browns up in here. Okay, we've got getting down to the bottom there. Alright, let's come back up here and finish putting any extra base layer I want down. is I'm going to take the embosser. Oops, I just lost a pencil under the drawing board. Rightio. Now, how are we going to approach this? I think I'm going to work on this section first. So, have I got my smallest one? Yep. In here, there's lots of little sort of tiny little dotty light areas. So I'm going to put a few of those in there, not heaps, just a few. And then I want to bring a few furry textures. You do as many, as few or as many as you would like. And you don't have to do it once, like you can come back and as you build layers you can use your embossing tool more if you want to. So don't feel like you've got one shot and that's it. Right, I'm going to use a warm colour. So I'm going to use warm, walnut brown, sorry not warm, walnut brown over the top of this area where we've got these little eyebrows popping out of. I'm just lightly coming in over the top with the walnut. And look, you can see these little marks that I put down underneath. Look at that magic! And if I wanted to, I could come back in and a few more. And then as I build, actually I'm going to put a few this way, as I build the layers up around, there'll be different depths of colour. Woo! As the coil says. Let's take a dark grey now. I've got cold grey 6 and I'll add just a little bit of that around this edge here. Right, and let's get our burnt ochre. A lovely bit of orangey flavouring coming in here. A bit more of it up here. I'll do just a few. It's a bit hard. You don't want to do too much because you can't actually see how much you're putting down at this stage. Right, now let me check where I am on the reference here. There's some of this orange in here. It's not dark though, and we'll need to build it up. darkness in there. Dark sepia. Got walnut. I'm going to lightly add a little bit of walnut. There's some cold grey through here, but yeah, I think cold grey. But I'd like to put a little bit of that walnut in there as well. I think I'm going to take a bit of terracotta now. Getting a bit hoarse again. Build out some more of this orangey flavour. And let me think what I want to do. I'm going to do a little bit more embossing through here. And then bring in a grey. It's a tricksy one, that grey. It's I think I'm going to go with a 5. Cold grey 5. Just a little smidgen. Kind of makes him look like he's got a unibrow, doesn't it? I want to bring a bit of the pink, that pinky colour up into here. So I've got beige red. And we need to bring more of the orange down. We do orange or let's do brown ochre. Instead, that yellowy sort of brown colour. It's another of my favourite colours for wildlife. Okay, and I'm going to take some warm grey 1, come back over all of this. You can see the little embossing bits, with a little bit of the darker colour. We've got some of the yellowy orangey flavours. Okay. Coming back over with some cold grey 1 now. So I'll bring a bit more of this Caput Mortuum in the eyebrow area here. And we want our dark sepia. Is it still sharp? Could do with a little sharpening. I can't really get that sucker into a slippery little sucker into my sharpener anymore, so I'm going to use my sandpaper. To get a nice sharp edge so that I can add a couple of eyebrows in. Okay, now we won't do the ones underneath until we get more of the colouring down there. Okie doke. I'm thinking about some Delft Blue, which is such a good colour to use with oranges. I had it out. I'm going to get indigo out. It's much more purpley. I think I'm going to add, I think I might actually go over it with white. Cold grey. White. We've got cold grey down. I'm just going to give it a quick swish over with a bit of white. Through here. I just want to make sure it's well blended in and that it's into the grain of the paper well. I'm going to emboss a little bit more. I'm thinking about the way that the fur comes in down in this area here, how it's changing direction through here. Okay, let's start with a, what have I got here? Cold grey 2, yes. Oh, did I do up there? I can't remember if I did up here or not. There's some nice markings under there now. Cold grey 2. I'm just going to shade lightly over the area that I'm going to want to put some Delft Blue down, so where it's quite dark. But I want to put a lighter layer first so we get a bit of depth happening. Okay, Delft Blue, I'm just going to use this very lightly. There is this really lovely bluey colour through here, and we can tone it down a little bit with some warm grey. What a pretty colour. Okay, good. Let's take cold grey. What have I got here? 4, I think. Yes, 4. And come over the top of the Delft Blue a little, bringing a little bit of extra darkness, a different tone. Okay. Some of that Caput Mortem again. I'm actually going to bring a little of it up here and here too. Just a little smidge. I'm fond of a smidge. Walnut. Quite a lot more darkness coming in out of the eye here. The corner of this eye. And let's take a little bit of the darkest cold grey. So I've got cold grey 6 here now. And I'm going to add some of these really dark little lines that you can see. Excuse me. And that should work really well with the embossing that we've done. Which, yeah, you can see the lighter hairs coming out through. No, we haven't done any embossing up here. Some of those really dark areas in first. And a few little bits and pieces in here. Oh, he's so cute. Okay, Alright, that's coming on. Let's get some stuff happening down here. I might just lift up a little bit so that we've got a bit more room to see. I'm going to go with warm grey one. I know we've got some cool grey here, but let's get some warm grey one in where they meet. Oh, this little face is so adorable. It's another whisker. I really went to town with the whiskers apparently. And I'm going to take some ivory. And I've got another whisker gone hard there. I don't mind having a little light spot of it. I mean, I want it there to tell me that that's the way that the whisker goes, but I went a bit crazy. So I'm looking at the structure of this face here, and I've got a line coming here, but it's really coming from this nose out here. This is actually too low. So again, always refer to your reference rather than just your line work. Line work's there to guide you. Cold grey one. Okay, look at that little face. Hello. I'm just going to reorganise my pencils a little bit. I've got a mess here. My cold and my warm greys all mixed up. Okay. Right, let's get a little bit of our burnt ochre happening. Oh, see now that was in amongst the yellows and I couldn't find it. Okay. A little bit of orangey brown happening in there. And then it comes into this really light area. Dips in here a little bit. And then again down to there. And then we have much more orangey out from that. Really soft around the edge of this floofy cheek. I'm going to build these layers up just the same as we did up through here. Okay. My eye has just been distracted up to here, and what I want to do is get Warm Grey 2 and just blend that in a little bit. Which then makes me want to darken it a little bit as well. So we've got Cold Grey 6. I think I'm going to add a little bit of Delft blue to that as well, just a smidge. That's better, isn't it? Hey? Yeah. And just a little bit more of the Caput Mortuum on the end here. Oops. I went a little bit too hard with the Caput Mortuum just there, in that one spot. Just pick that out a little bit. Go back over with Walnut. And a little bit of brown ochre. There we go, that's better. Bring a little bit of brown ochre down here now. So can you see the difference between the fur here and the fur here? This is really soft here. I wouldn't want to use embossing on this at all. This transition is soft through here. Whereas up here you can see really definitive hairs, really light hairs with a very dark base sticking out. I've got a bit of nougat here. Let's extend some of this nougat out from the dark part under the eye. It's a little more brown. Through there. I'm going to get some burnt sienna in here as well in a minute. Burnt sienna. So it comes down over this really fluffy bit on the outside. And then under here, it's quite dark. It gives me such pleasure looking at these little faces as they emerge. I kind of feel like it's in the room with me. He's in the room with me. We know it's a male. Just a light layer of burnt sienna down. Let's grab terracotta now. Continuing to layer up this orangey area. Constantly referring back to the reference. I'm looking up here and thicken out this orangey bit just up here. Alright, a bit more burnt sienna. I'm going to give it a little bit of a golden kick. So I've got light yellow ochre. And a bit of beige red. Just along the edges here, it's really softened out. I'm going to go over that with some indigo. Just softening that out. How's that looking? It's getting there. It needs a bit more orange. I've got my burnt ochre back. Okay, let's get some more information around that before I decide what to do next. So I've got some burnt umber here. I'll darken this up in here just a little bit more. I'm going to take cold grey 1 again. In here. And let's build that up. So I'm going to go cold grey 2 first. I could probably use a little bit of embossing. Maybe a little bit this way. And as we get down to the nose, it's going to be a different thing altogether. So I've got the cold grey 2 still in my hand here. Oops. Just making sure that I'm following the ridge up the nose correctly. Because this is the nose here and it gets really dark there. And it gets dark here. And purpley there. Alright, let's take a little smidge of Delft Blue again, and lightly put a little bit of that flavour down. Righty-o. Warm grey 1. Cold grey 5. I just want to bring in a couple of these little lines in there. Darkening it up a little bit where the mouth is coming in there. Okay, and there we go. I think next time we will start working on this snoot. Oh, but I'm very happy with where he's at. Look at that sweet face. Okay, see you soon.